When winter hits the Arctic, temperatures plummet to an extreme -70 degrees Fahrenheit, -57 degrees Celsius, making everyday life a challenge for the Inuit people. While most of us worry about scraping ice off our car windows, they face a more interesting dilemma: how to stay fresh and clean in a place where water freezes almost instantly. Before we dive into how the Inuit managed to stay clean in freezing temperatures, we need to understand why cleanliness was so crucial for survival in the Arctic. It wasn't just about smelling nice, though nobody wants to be stuck in an igloo with someone who hasn't washed in months. The real danger came from sweat. In temperatures far below freezing, any moisture in clothing could quickly turn deadly. When sweat freezes in clothes, it doesn't just make you uncomfortable, it can lead to severe hypothermia. The ice crystals that form break down the insulating properties of the clothing, making it about as useful as wearing a frozen jacket made of ice. Not exactly the winter fashion statement anyone wants to make. But that's not all. Warm clothing creates the perfect environment for bacteria to grow, especially when mixed with sweat and body oils. This bacteria growth isn't just about bad odors. It can lead to skin infections, which were particularly dangerous in an environment where medical help might be weeks away. Some might think, why not just skip washing altogether? Unfortunately, that wasn't an option. The combination of heavy clothing, physical activity, and the body's natural need to regulate temperature meant that sweat was inevitable. The Inuit needed to find ways to stay clean without access to running water or the luxury of a warm bathroom. Thankfully, they developed several clever techniques that we're about to explore, and some of them might surprise you. Let's talk about the snow bath method. Yes, you heard that right. The Inuit discovered that snow could be an incredibly effective cleaning tool, but not just any snow would do. They became experts at selecting the perfect powder for washing, kind of like how we carefully choose our soaps and shampoos today. The ideal snow for bathing needed to be fresh and powdery, that packed, icy stuff you use for snowballs. Absolutely useless for cleaning. Think of it as nature's exfoliating scrub, but with very specific requirements. The Inuit would actually seek out snow that was around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, -6 degrees Celsius, which might sound freezing to us, but was practically tropical by Arctic standards. This warmer snow was less likely to cause frostbite and actually did a better job at cleaning. The technique itself was quite fascinating. They would vigorously rub the snow on their skin in circular motions, similar to how we use a washcloth. But timing was everything. Most people chose to do their snow baths in the early morning when the snow was freshest, or during the warmer parts of winter days. And by warmer, we're still talking about temperatures that would make most of us want to hibernate. The real art of the snow bath came down to protecting the body while getting clean. No one was out there doing a full-body snow angel style wash. Instead, they worked in sections, keeping vital areas covered while cleaning others. They'd quickly dry each section before moving on to prevent any risk of frostbite. Think of it as the world's fastest cleaning routine, because when you're using snow as soap, you definitely don't want to take your time. The final step was crucial, immediately getting into dry clothes after the bath. The whole process was like a carefully choreographed dance. Clean, dry, cover, repeat. And surprisingly, this method was remarkably effective at removing dirt and oils from the skin. Who knew that snow could give modern soap a run for its money? While snow baths were effective, the Inuit had another brilliant cleaning method up their sleeves: oil-based cleaning. And before you wrinkle your nose at the thought of getting clean with oil, let me tell you, this wasn't just any old oil. They primarily used seal oil, but whale blubber and caribou fat were popular alternatives depending on what was available. During summer months, fish oil would join the cleaning cabinet lineup. The process was surprisingly sophisticated. First, they'd warm the oil to body temperature, because nobody wants a freezing oil massage in the Arctic. The oil would then be thoroughly massaged into the skin, paying special attention to exposed areas like the face and hands. To remove the oil, they used these incredibly clever scrapers, crafted from bone or antler. It was like having a primitive spa day, minus the cucumber slices and ambient music. But here's where it gets really interesting. This method wasn't just about getting clean. The oil served multiple purposes, kind of like those fancy 3-in-1 products we have today, except this actually worked. While cleaning the skin, it also created a protective layer against the brutal Arctic cold. Think of it as nature's moisturizer with built-in windshield protection. The oil helped prevent windburn and frostbite, which in the Arctic was about as essential as wearing clothes. The natural antibacterial properties of these animal oils were an added bonus. Long before scientists discovered the benefits of natural oils, the Inuit had figured out that these substances could help keep skin healthy and protected from infections. It's pretty impressive when you think about it. They basically invented a combination moisturizer, cleanser, and protective barrier cream, all from materials they had readily available. Modern skincare companies could probably learn a thing or two from this ancient wisdom. The steam cleaning method was like the Inuit version of a luxury spa day, but with a few key differences. Instead of your typical steam room with eucalyptus-scented towels, they created their own steam baths in small enclosed spaces, usually an igloo or tent. And considering how precious water was in the Arctic, this wasn't your everyday cleaning routine. Setting up a steam bath was quite the production. First, they needed to heat rocks over a fire until they were practically glowing hot. Then came the tricky part, finding the perfect balance of water to create steam. Remember, water wasn't exactly abundant in the frozen Arctic, so every drop counted. They'd carefully pour small amounts of water over the heated rocks, creating bursts of steam that would fill their enclosed space. A seal oil lamp would provide additional heat, turning their igloo into a cozy, well, let's say cozy is relative when you're in the Arctic, steam room. The actual cleaning process was remarkably effective. The steam would open up their pores, making it easier to remove dirt and oils. They'd follow this with a quick wipe down using clean snow. Talk about going from one temperature extreme to another. It was like the world's most intense hot and cold spa treatment. Given the effort involved and the precious resources required, steam cleaning wasn't an everyday occurrence. It was reserved for special occasions like important ceremonies or the winter solstice. Some would even use it as a pre-hunting ritual, probably because nobody wants to be tracking prey while smelling like they've been wearing the same parka for 3 months straight. The whole process showed just how innovative the Inuit were in adapting to their harsh environment while maintaining practices that were both practical and cultural-wise significant. Now, let's talk about one of the more surprising cleaning methods, urine. Yes, you heard that right. Before you say "you" and scroll away, there's some fascinating science behind this technique. Modern soap often contains urea, a compound found in urine, so our ancestors were onto something long before chemists figured it out. The Inuit discovered that urine, particularly morning urine, had natural antiseptic properties that made it effective for cleaning. They weren't just making this up. Urine's ability to break down oils and dirt made it particularly useful for hair washing. Sometimes they'd even age the urine to make it stronger, kind of like how we age wine, though I wouldn't recommend serving this at your next dinner party. The application process was more sophisticated than you might think. They would often mix the urine with snow to dilute it, creating a cleaning solution that was surprisingly effective. Different age groups had their own specific protocols for using this technique. It's like they had their own version of adult and kids shampoo, except, well, you know. What's truly remarkable is how widely accepted this practice was across generations. Knowledge about collection methods and proper use was passed down through families, with specific guidelines about when and how to use it. They probably didn't have fancy bottles with pH balanced written on them, but they understood what worked. And before you dismiss this as some primitive practice, remember that urine has been used in cleaning processes throughout history, from ancient Rome to medieval Europe. The Inuit simply adapted this knowledge to their extreme environment, where conventional cleaning methods weren't always possible. Sure, it's not going to be the next big thing in personal hygiene, but it shows just how resourceful humans can be when faced with extreme circumstances. Now that we know how the Inuit kept themselves clean, let's tackle another challenge: how they managed to do laundry in temperatures cold enough to freeze your socks solid. The snow washing technique was their go-to method, and it was a lot more sophisticated than just throwing clothes into a snowbank. The process started with selecting the right type of snow, just like how we choose between delicate and normal wash cycles today. But instead of pushing buttons on a washing machine, they'd beat their clothes in fresh powder snow. They discovered that different types of snow had varying cleaning properties. Think of powder snow as their version of gentle cycle detergent, except it was free and literally fell from the sky. The technique involved carefully rolling garments in specific types of snow, taking advantage of snow temperature variations. Colder snow was better at removing oils, while slightly warmer snow worked better for general dirt. They'd repeat the process multiple times, kind of like how we might run a second cycle for particularly dirty clothes. The timing had to be perfect too. They couldn't just do laundry whenever they felt like it. They had to consider snow conditions, time of day, and seasonal changes. Weather monitoring was crucial. After all, you wouldn't want your entire winter wardrobe getting caught in a surprise blizzard. They became experts at reading weather patterns to choose the perfect time for laundry day. The whole process required careful attention and perfect timing, making modern-day sorting of whites and colors seem pretty simple in comparison. Surprisingly, this method was incredibly effective at cleaning clothes. The snow crystals would act like tiny scrubbers, removing dirt and grime, while the cold temperatures helped prevent any lingering odors. workers. Who needs fabric softener when you've got nature's washing machine at your doorstep? After all that cleaning, the Inuit faced another challenge, drying their laundry in a place where wet clothes could freeze solid in minutes. Their solution, the igloo top drying method, which was way more sophisticated than just tossing clothes on the roof and hoping for the best. They created special drying racks, designed to capture and use the heat that naturally escaped through the top of their igloos. It was like having a clothesline above a radiator, except the radiator was their entire house. The design had to balance between using the escaping warmth and preventing snow from building up on the clothes, a pretty tricky engineering feat when you think about it. The ventilation control was crucial. Too much airflow would freeze the clothes solid, while too little would leave them damp. And in the Arctic, damp clothes could be deadly. They developed clever ways to adjust the airflow depending on the temperature and wind conditions. Protection mechanisms kept the clothes safe from sudden weather changes, which could turn a nearly dry parka into a clothing popsicle in minutes. The real genius of this method was how it made efficient use of space and resources. The heat escaping from the igloo would have been wasted anyway, so why not put it to work? Plus, having the clothes right above their living space made it easy to monitor the drying progress. They could quickly rescue anything that started to freeze or adjust positions for optimal drying. The whole setup was like having a primitive clothes dryer, except it didn't need electricity, make annoying buzzing sounds, or eat your socks. It just quietly did its job using nothing but the natural heat already being produced. Talk about energy efficiency. Modern appliance manufacturers could probably learn a thing or two from this ancient design.